Confused where to start? UPSC. One decision can change everything.
Like to thank Vajiram and Ravi.
Vajiram current affairs test series.
वाजीराम का भी काफी हेल्प
Vajiram is the best.
But Vajiram, it is something holistic.
It helped me in boosting my confidence.
Structured learning expert. Mentorship in latest results, top 10 out of 10 from Vajiram. Legacy of AIR 1. Trust. One name. Vajiram and Ravi.
Hello everyone, I am Srija JS. I have secured All India rank 57 at UPSC Civil Services Examination 2025 in my very first attempt. So in this video with Delhi Knowledge Track, I'll be sharing my strategies, how I was able to crack this exam in my very first attempt. So stay tuned and let me begin. First of all, let me start with my education, family background, and where did I start my preparation and things like that. So I come from Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, and I hail from a small village called Narivamudu, and I finished my schooling from LKG to higher secondary in Trivandrum itself, and in plus 1 and plus 2 I was a humanities student with subjects like history, political science, sociology and economics. And after that, for my higher education, for undergrad and postgrad, I went to Chennai in Madras Christian College and finished my studies by 2024 May, and I came back to Thiruvananthapuram in May 2024 and I started my UPSC preparation. However, I had this dream of appearing for this examination and clearing it from 7th standard onwards. My primary inspiration was Miss Haridavi Kumar ma'am, who cleared this exam back in 2012 with All India rank 1. At that time it became a big news and I was reading newspaper at that time. So I saw this news for the first time and I got curious what this exam is about and how you can clear it. I asked my mother what this exam is about, and she told me that through this exam the country selects bureaucrats and they became district collectors and so on. So by that time I was understanding that science is not that much of a interesting area to me, but humanities is okay for me. So I diverted to humanities by 10th and so on. And after that, while I was studying in college, I was studying international relations along with political science also. Again, I got curious as to how diplomacy works and how countries interact with each other and so on. So that's why I wanted to become an IFS officer from 2021 onwards, which is when I was in 3rd year of college. And then when my preparation started in May 2024, I made a note to myself that I'll just take one attempt, and there is only one attempt for me to clear this exam and I have to do it. I made a note on my wall that in 2026 I'll crack this exam and I'll become IFS officer. So whenever I was lazy, whenever I was distracted, whenever I was not having the motivation to study, I will just take a look at this paper where I had written Srija JS IFS and I'll come back to study. Not that you should follow this strategy, but if you are a person who likes to have a vision board, you can always create one, and I think at times of trouble and distress, I think it may help you out because it has tremendously helped me out. And when I look back to 2024 May and all those times, September, all those times were very stressful most often because I was a very tense person back then, lot of overthinking, because in this exam you can expect a lot of uncertainty. How to beat this uncertainty, nobody knows the real answer. Only thing you can do is you prepare and you do your absolute best and waiting for better results. So sometimes when tensions become overwhelming, I'll take a look at this paper and I'll be fine, I'll go back to studying. So that is the small story of how my preparation started. Now let me just go back to let me just start with my strategy for prelims, mains and then interview. Now let me address some of the basic questions. First one, when did my preparation exactly start and where I did my preparation? The answer is I did my preparation from Fortune IAS Academy in Thiruvananthapuram itself. I started taking classes in May 2024 and subsequently classes, prelims test series, mains test series and interview guidance program, everything in Fortune IAS Academy. And then when did I start my NCRTs? Okay, this I have to address. you have to read NCERTs from 6th to 12th standard. In my case, I finished that by June. In our academy, we had regular tests and we had a daily planner where it was properly enlisted what are things to study, and by evening of the same day there will be tests. So I was regularly taking that and I was revising NCERTs too. So by mid-June I finished with NCERTs, and then I selectively looked back at NCERTs, especially for geography. I was reading +1 and +2 geography, that too very selectively. So you always have that choice. If you are studying NCERTs and if you're thorough with it in the first few revision cycles, then I think you'll be fine. If you are taking coaching, the classes and the coaching material would suffice. So always use that choice. Do not duplicate the work. So then mock test, I took that in Fortune as well, both prelims and mains. But I was regularly doing MCQs, and I think for an aspirant, it is very necessary to crack as much MCQs you can before going for the real prelims. And for mains also, write as many questions and answers as you can, because UPSC exam is all about how you practice well, how you work on your improvements, and how you go forward. It's not that you study something and then on the day of exam you just put it out. It doesn't work like that, and I think you must understand that, at least some of you. So always keep practicing in your mind. And then my interview preparation immediately started after mains. So in my case, I have to tell you, I was not studying for mains while I was studying for prelims, and that is one of the biggest mistakes I had done. Because when I started answer writing after prelims, in that short span of time, I was very stressed and very tensed. I did not know what I was doing. So don't commit that mistake. When you are studying for prelims, start answer writing. I do not mean that you have to start on the day of starting preparation. No, not like that. You start your preparation, within 1 or 2 months you will get an idea as to what this exam is about. You will have content in some of the subjects. Then you can take PYQs, you can write answers, and then you can self-evaluate these answers with PYQ model answers or topper copies. This would help you in a big way, because by the end of prelims, you might understand that whether you will clear prelims or not, and after that you can safely, smoothly work for mains. If you are very new to answer writing, at least 2 to 3 weeks it would be very stressful. So why take stress when you have the opportunity to start writing answers and evaluate them while preparing for prelims? So do not commit the mistake that I had done. And then for fresh graduates studying in school and colleges, my first suggestion is read newspaper daily. Current affairs is very important. Not necessary that you have to make notes. At least read the newspaper and start your preparation in a very smooth way. Do not overstress or overburden yourself with college and UPSC. Everything has its own time, and I had started serious preparation only after my college. Many people do that. Still they clear. So it is alright. So these are the first few questions that I had to address. Now let me just go straight to my sources. So talking about sources, my first and primary content was from Fortune class notes and the coaching material Fortune provided. So only after that I looked for other sources. So usually you will hear things like you have to read standard books to clear this exam. In my case, I have never read Spectrum, GC, Leong, all those standard books. I have avoided them primarily because all the relevant content was covered in the Fortune study material. I was thinking like, why should I duplicate the effort? I can just rely on one book and then that's enough. So always use the discretion to understand what is relevant and what is not, and what is working for you and what is not working for you. It will take time, but you will get the hang of it. So going straight to the sources now. For history, art and culture, my go-to source was Fortune material, but I think there are other materials also, in a book by Nitin Singhania and lot of other things, Ancient and Medieval India by another person. But the thing is, many of these books are very bulky. If you are going to read these books, read only these selective portions. How will you understand the selective portions? Keep syllabus by your side and PYQs by your side. Go through the various PYQs, analyze the repeated themes, find them out, and look at how questions are being asked both in prelims and in mains, and then look for sources and keep your sources very limited, and most importantly consolidate your sources. For example, you are referring to a book and then you are writing notes, and that's not organized. You are writing somewhere and then just throwing it out. Don't do that. And sometimes you write physical notes and then you have digital notes also. Everything is scrambled. It will get messy. So always consolidate your sources as well. And then for polity, I was reading the holy book, the so-called holy book in UPSC, Lakshmikant. That too, some people might have a misconception that you have to read Lakshmikant back to back, cover to cover, word to word. Don't do that. It's not necessary. In my case also, I haven't read Lakshmikant cover to cover, word to word. I just read the relevant chapters and I have made very small notes for last revision. If I can say some examples, you have to read the first chapter, Union and States. I think it's the first chapter. Then Fundamental Rights, Union and State Government, Local Self-Government, Constitutional and Non-Constitutional Bodies, etc. These are very relevant chapters, and you can always club these and study. For example, when you are studying Union Government, you can simultaneously study State Government, because we are living in a parliamentary system, and then both of these systems are very similar. You can always club the similar things and then study. And then going for geography, I was completely relying on class notes and fortune material. The class notes were very comprehensive and the classes were also very comprehensive. I just relied on that. And I was also reading NCERT textbooks for +1 especially, very selectively to understand. And sometimes in PYQs you can see that directly questions were being asked from the NCERT textbook. So read geography NCERT cover to cover if you can. Even then, if you want to do it smartly, you can always go for selective reading. And then Indian economic, that subject, again I was completely relying on fortune white material. I am not sure of the standard books available in economics, but generally I have heard that there are no comprehensive source, but I am not sure, that you have to look. And then most importantly, current affairs for prelims. Here I was reading newspaper daily. I was not making any notes, primarily because I was not revising the notes that I had made when I started my preparation. In May I started my preparation and I was writing notes till I think mid-June. By then I realized that I was not revising any of them and I was writing big chunks of each and every important news. So it's not necessary. And I found a monthly magazine by Fortune Academy itself. It's called Precise. I found that material to be very crisp and concise. So I relied on newspaper reading and Precise. That was enough for me. For CSAT, again I was relying on class notes. And let me tell you, for CSAT, rely on comprehension of PYQs and max reasoning also from PYQs. You don't have to do a lot of stuff and go over and beyond what is required in the UPSC. You don't have to do that. Just rely on PYQs for CSAT comprehension. You will be fine. And max, nowadays it's becoming very difficult for at least people from humanities background. Here you have to practice a lot. You have to understand the patterns of questions that are being asked. And let me tell you, there are questions that are being repeated every year. Find them out and strategize. I'll tell you how I used to attempt CSAT paper towards the end. And then that's for prelims. Now for mains, only subjects. For GS1, for history, class notes and PYQs. Again, PYQs is a general source for each and every subject I had. But for specifically, if I have to tell you, for world history and all those history parts, I was completely relying on Fortune White Book, which is released for both prelims and mains. So I was using the mains material. And then for geography class notes, Indian society, I had studied sociology +1 and +2 NCERT books back then. I was revising that book, and plus for current affairs I was reading Prahar magazine, very selective reading, and then for GS2 Lakshmikant for Indian polity, and Prahar magazine for governance, social justice, and IR I was clubbing it with my optional. So here again a note, my optional is political science and international relations, the PSIR. One smart strategy that worked for me was I was clubbing my GS preparation with the optional preparation, especially GS2 with that of PSI preparation, and that worked out and I was able to handle it. So the IR study material was straightly out of my PSIR study material. For social justice I was clubbing it with GS1 society. For governance again I was relying on Prahar magazine for current affairs, and I thought it would suffice, and also PYQs were repeating, so I was just focusing on that. And GS3 for Indian economy and all those papers, they are very content rich, for you have to have a lot of examples, current affairs and all those things. So I was relying on Prahar magazine again for all of those subjects. I think apart from internal security, rest is mostly Prahar, and there were current affairs magazines from my academy also. I was selectively picking what all things were necessary, and PYQs also. For ethics I was relying on Mudit Jain sir's notes and plus PYQs, and then altogether I was taking mains test series after prelims. So I was regularly reading these answer keys also to get content and current affairs, picking out examples and how to write good answers and all those things. So these are my sources. Briefly, I would like to share my current affairs ecosystem also. For prelims, as I have already said, I was reading the Hindu newspaper, and then I was following Precise magazine of Fortune. For mains, I didn't have any specific source. I was just reading Prahar or my academy's current affairs magazine. That's a weekly magazine called Forward. And for main, for interview, I was reading Indian Express newspaper, no other magazine, nothing else, just Indian Express, and I was making notes, because for interview, I think making notes is necessary for you to make opinions and things like that. So now let me go straight to prelim strategy and main strategy. So prelims, I would like to share two strategies. First one, how you study, and second one, how you attempt a paper. So first one, how you study. For prelims, you have to always look for potential questions. How do you look for that? When you read something, understand the nuances. For example, if you are reading from Indian polity, and for example, if you are reading something on Indian Parliament, there are a lot of nuances that you can look into, right? If you are studying president, what are the powers of president, pardoning powers, and all these things, you can make a mental note of it, or if you can write it down, make a physical note, and this will help you, because when you see a question on Indian president, you will be able to connect and you will be able to eliminate if you know at least something related to president which are coming in the options, and these are static part. So if you can comprehensively prepare all these things, it would be helpful. Not just for Indian polity, for history, Indian economy, geography, most of these are static portions. So if you are thorough with your static portions, current affairs will add on to it, and you will be able to eliminate and write exam really well. Now attempting MCQs are also very important. I used to practice at least 10 to 15 MCQs 4 times in a week, 5 times in a week, that depends, and it kind of became my hobby because I liked tackling MCQs and working out elimination tricks and things like that. So most of you would be taking mock tests as well from time to time, and you must be joining some academy for taking mock test or following Telegram. It does not matter how much test you take, which academy you choose. At the end of the day, what matters is how well you are analyzing yourself, your thinking patterns, how you are attempting the paper, regulating your mindset while taking the test. Why I am saying this is because in the initial 3 to 4 GS tests, I was constantly analyzing myself. If I am attempting a 100 question paper, I would go by 3 round system. In the first round, I would just focus on the questions I really know. That would come around like 5 to 6 questions. I would look at the question paper and I would just mark those questions which I can directly give an answer. I don't have to think much. That would come in the first round. And in the second round, I'll start reading from 1 to 100. I will do all the mental gymnastics here. I would eliminate and do all the logics things in the second round. And here also sometimes you might get stuck at 50-50. You will eliminate 2 options, you are left with 2 other options, you are stuck. Most of the times I would not do it. I would keep them aside for the third round, and then I'll just finish about 50 to 60 questions by the end of second round. Mostly that was happening. And in the third round, 50-50 and the questions I really don't have a clue about, I would often leave 15 questions maximum in every single test I attended. Those questions I don't have a freaking clue, I would just leave it, because why take risk when you have the option to leave at least 15 to 20 questions. That was my logic, and that really worked out for me. And then the 50-50 question, 50-50 elimination part also, those questions I would again read, I would try to connect, and if I am able to crack it, making one option seem more plausible than the other, I would just mark it. Mostly I would take calculated risk, but I would try to mark it. And while attempting also, I would have a vision kind of thing. So for if the question paper is easy, I might go for above 55 attempts, 85 to 90. If the paper is moderate, I would just keep it at 85. It does not matter if I finish early or not, I wouldn't go beyond 85, because I was sure that I was having high accuracy. So I did not want to get more negative marks. And these insights come to you when you practice a lot, when you see a lot of question papers and you work with MCQs. So without practice, it's a bit hard to get into the habit of having a right mindset also. In prelims, you need right mindset, because those 2 hours are very important, and once you enter the exam hall, you would not have a clue as to how the time is passing so fast. While writing mock test, the things would be different, but in the real exam, you have to be very careful also. Sometimes you might mistakenly bubble wrong. So in that case, you don't have to get panicked. You just have to think on your feet and then go forward. You can't get stuck anywhere. Basically, it's a do or die situation. What would you do in a do or die situation? You do. So give practice the significance that it must be given. So now going for CSAT, again here I am a humanities student, so obviously I had difficulty in studying maths and trying out maths questions, primarily because I would study everything. I would be okay when I am practicing, but when taking tests, sometimes things go out of my hand. So I observed this, and with the help of my mentor, I came up with a strategy. So you might hear about the 4 you're doing CSAT in multiples of 4. If you do 28 questions with no wrong, you will clear this CSAT paper. If you go for 32, 1 wrong, you will clear. So in my logic, I was fixed on either 44 or 48, primarily because if the paper is easy, I would go for 48 attempts, and then again 10 to 12 questions you can get wrong, it is fine, you will clear. If the paper is very difficult, I would go for 44 attempts, and still 8 to 9 questions can get wrong, you will clear this exam. So in the real prelims exam, I went for 45 attempts, and then comprehension I attended all of them, because my primary target was comprehension, and maths and reasoning came after that. And here I went for 45 attempts, and then I think I got 11 to 12 questions wrong, but still I got 75 marks. I was looking at just 75 marks and I got it. So the point is you don't have to see the 80 questions, you don't have to crack the 80 questions. You can always work on your strength and then you can go forward. If you are a person who is good at comprehension, you can focus on comprehension, but at the same time figure out the maths and reasoning questions that you can do in any case. There are lots of such questions. Find them out and then practice them a lot. You will be able to crack this exam. And also attempting CSAT is also a skill. My strategy was that I would first attempt comprehension questions, all of them, in the first 40 minutes. Then I would go to reasoning questions or max questions in the 15-20 minutes. The easy ones I would pick and then do that. And after that it was just randomly picking questions that I am able to crack. I'll just do, and then finishing 45 questions in the 2 hours. That was my goal and I was able to do that. So for prelims, 3 things that are very necessary. 1, the right mindset while taking the test. In that situation of 4 hours, you have to give your best. I do not mean you have to get overly tensed, but always think on your feet. That you have answers in front of you in the form of MCQs. You just have to think and then find the right answer. And second is you must have a strategy for both GS1 and GS2 in how you would attempt the paper. I always said 3-round strategy in GS1 and GS2 also, the strategy I have told you. Find out your strong points and then develop a strategy around it. You can take help of your mentors and your friends, peers also. And third thing, prelims, you will feel FOMO to study a lot, to cover current affairs a lot, all those things, but always keep syllabus and PYQs side by your side. Find the repeated themes and do smart work. That will ease you and help you just enjoy studying. So that was how I had done and it has helped me out. So this is about prelim strategy. And now coming to mains, the most important thing, as I have said before, is answer writing. Do not wait for prelims to get over to start answer writing. Start as early as you can. I do not mean you have to start right on the day you start preparation. No. Study for some time. After a month or 2, you will have some content. So take random PYQs and attempt. In the initial few months, the answers would be horrible. You will not even want to look at them. It's okay. Everybody goes through the same drill. And people clear because they hone those skills, those answer writing skills. In mains, it's very important, and let me tell you, it is one of the most ROI in UPSC. As much as you put in the effort, you will get the returns for sure. And mains is mostly predictable. What kind of questions that can come up, you can almost predict them, right? Most of the academies do that now. So do answer writing properly. And for GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4, things work differently. For GS1, it is very content rich paper and you have a lot of content to study and you will not know what to study, what not to study. So you sometimes go over and beyond. So always keep your sources very limited. For history questions, there is a certain amount of keywords that you can use. For example, if the question is about art and culture of certain dynasty, you can always add things like cultural synthesis and syncretism between different cultures. All these keywords you can find out from PYQ's model answers, that you can always use that. And importance of map in GS1 is very high, because in history also you can use the map. If they are asking about Cholas, you can always draw a map and mark Cholas in where Tamil Nadu is situated, right? For Chandelas, you can always pin that down in Madhya Pradesh side. So maps are very important, and in geography again it's very important, and it's important that you must practice these maps, world maps, Indian maps. You have to practice it while you write answers. And you don't have to be an artist. You just have to draw a map. Even it's rudimentary, it's fine. The examiner must understand that this guy or girl has drawn an India map or world map. That is enough. And I also took some time to practice it. There are many videos available on YouTube. You can always look at them. And for Indian society, there is this thing common in GS1. There is a tendency to become overly narrative and not analytical. So what can help you to navigate them is looking at the question keywords, right? You have evaluate, critically analyze, comment, critically evaluate. All these questions with all these keywords are there. So understand the demand of each and every keyword. So if you are writing an answer to a critically analyze keyword question, there is a particular ratio that I have followed. 40% I would write the pros or the positive side of the question that is being asked. 60% I would write the negatives of that particular question, the topic they are asking, and then conclusion. Introduction is very important, right? So in introduction you can for history you can quote a rough timeline of the dynasty that are being asked, and for geography and Indian society maybe you can quote some current affairs, or you can add definitions also. That depends upon the question. That was my strategy. I didn't have any pre-planned framework or such things. My primary focus was read the question, understand the structure from there, write down the headings from the question itself, and then just finish the answer, because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for frameworks and things like that. As I have told you, I started prelims mains preparation only after prelims, roughly 2 months, 2.5 months of preparation. There was a limit to what I could do. So in the limited time, what I had done is understand the question, structure it properly, and write them. Many people also have frameworks. If you can find those frameworks and practice on them, well and good, do it. So especially for people who are going to write mains this year, if you haven't prepared for mains before, don't worry, it's okay. I was able to cram my preparation into those 2 months and I was fine. So you can just start your preparation in a very smart way. Go for PYQs and understand the demand of each question words and each subject and prepare accordingly. Always keep PYQs by your side. And then coming to GS2, here again it is content rich. At the same time, value addition becomes very important in this paper. For example, if a question is being asked on Indian polity, president, union government, you can always quote the articles in the constitution, right? For governor, you can always quote these articles in the introduction or in the conclusion, depending upon the question, and it adds value to the to your answer. And again, case laws, for example, basic structure, anywhere we can quote Keshavananda Bharati case. And again, for governor also there are a lot of case laws. So always have a collection of important articles and the constitutional judgments that you can use, and committee recommendations. These add lot of value to your point, and I think these value additions add to your marks as well. In my case, when I was writing GS2 back in August, I was very tired after GS1, so obviously I was going blank in between, and most of the times I was not able to remember the committee recommendations that I have studied, and I was not able to write really well in the exam. I got just 106 marks. So now looking back, I think like if I had add more value added points to my paper, I might have got good marks. So the toppers always who get really good marks in GS2 had this habit of adding lot of value added things to the answer copies, and you can look that in the topper copies as well, you will see the trend. So always have a collection and always practice with these examples and things like that. That goes for all the subjects in GS2. Coming to GS3, it is a very data rich paper. Why I am saying this is Indian economy, agriculture, environment, and all these things you can add lot of data points and statistical examples, and graph also adds value to your answers. Again in GS3 I was not able to do that much, because in the short span of time I was able to collect all these data points and graphs, things like that, and I was practicing it while taking mock tests. But in the real exam I was not able to do that much, and there were limitations to my answers, and obviously I got just 78 marks. So don't, again I'm repeating, don't make the mistakes I have done, not focusing on value additions or analyzing my answers properly, and having the presence of mind in the exam hall. Sometimes things can get wrong in some way. Even if that happens, don't lose your cool. Those hours are very important. You have the content within you. It's just that at that moment you're not able to remember. It's okay, you can always make up data points also. So when you are writing answers, practice as much as you can, and thoroughly revise all these things that you want to use as value addition points. Now coming back to GS4, let me tell you, it is a very important paper, as all toppers, teachers, everybody say. It's just ethics for 250 marks. And here also keep your sources very limited. If you're following a particular teacher's notes, just focus on that. More importance must be given to the PYQs, because a lot of these questions are being repeated every year, and ethics is increasingly becoming an applied paper. It's of no use if you are not practicing these applied answer questions. So always practice case laws, case studies and part A questions. Some people might have doubt as to how to crack code based questions. It was difficulty for me as well. What I had done is I practiced a lot, and I didn't follow any particular framework. I would take the code, I would break it down, and I would find out headings from that code itself. And then I would write answers. Different people have different strategies. I think mine worked for me sometimes. I was not able to get good marks in code based questions, but sometimes I was able to. For example, if there is a question, if there is a quote on leadership, you can start with explaining the quote in 2 or 3 sentences for the introduction, and then you can probably write about how important is good leadership, and you can always bring in examples from civil servants. Right, for example, I always used to write about Armstrong Payne, IAS officer, who has constructed People's Road in Manipur, and lot of other examples that you can bring in. For transparency, you can write about TN Sheshan, IAS as example. So always have a collection of examples from civil servants who are doing great job in providing good service and ensuring good public service delivery, and also other renowned examples that you can see around in the world, collected from newspapers and general reading. Now coming to case studies, here also I didn't have any particular framework to attend the questions, because after writing 2 to 3 essay tests, I realized that after finishing part A, I just get around like 1.5 hours or 1 hour 45 minutes for finishing the case studies, sometimes 2 hours if I got lucky. So in that time, reading case studies and then just following my set framework was proving to be difficult for me. So what I did, I was answering only the questions in the particular case studies. If they are not asking about stakeholders, I would not write about stakeholders. I would just go straight to the point. I just got 106 marks in ethics. So I think there are a lot of limitations to my answers as well. But here, more importance must be given to finishing the paper and not just writing perfect answers. That is very important in my opinion. It goes for all GS papers. You have to finish your paper. 2 to 5 questions would be horrible, but it's okay. You have to finish the papers. That counts. And coming to essay strategy, I didn't write a lot of essays starting from May 2024. I cramped everything within the short span of time after prelims. So here I was reading a lot of model essays, not topper copy essays, only very limited ones that I was reading. For example, I used topper copies rigorously for essays. Harshada Goyal ma'am's essay topper copies I have used, and I found her essays to be very good in content and creativity. So I was reading them a lot, and then I think some topper copies from previous years also I was reading. But at the end of the day, I was relying on model essays that I have generated using ChatGPT. I would give prompt like give me an essay for this topic with at least 7 to 8 dimensions and write very creatively having the logical flow. So I compared at least 25 to 30 of them and I would just randomly read, and then I would take previous year questions or any other essay topics. I would just randomly brainstorm, and then sometimes I would finish the full essays and I ensured that I was getting them evaluated and I was self-evaluating them. So over time I was able to get into the habit of writing a very good and structured essay. That happened in the course of time. So for essays, I must emphasize on practicing a lot of essays. Even if you are not writing full essays, at least do the brainstorming. And PYQs also, there are so many repeated themes. Nowadays, it's mostly philosophical essays that you can see. My primary focus was on writing philosophical essays because I found that while writing GS based essays, I was not having that much of creativity and flow. I was randomly putting points and somehow it didn't make sense at times. So I was having this difficulty. So I thought philosophical essays I was able to write well and bring in my creativity and the logical flow of thought. I found that easy for me sometimes. So I focused on philosophical essays, and in the real mains exam also I wrote 2 philosophical essays. The first one was the art of war is not in fighting but subduing the enemy without fighting. I think that was the quotation, and then the second also, life is a journey, that question. I remember if I am able to mention it. So both are philosophical essays and I was able to write it and I got 130 marks. So you have to trust your writing, and writing philosophical essays I think will give you the freedom to put in your interesting perspectives. And in essays there is no right or wrong. At the end of the day, you have to strike up a conversation with the examiner, and through essays you are opening your mind to them. So be very creative. Bring in interesting perspectives. At the end of the day, ensure that logical flow. That's how essay works. So that is about my GS strategy. So now let me come back. So now let me start with my revision strategy. First I have to tell you that during my entire course of preparation, I didn't make my own schedule. I was just following the schedule the Fortune has given me. From October onwards, we started our prelims test series, and they have provided a daily planner, a daily schedule of subjects and topics we have to study. Every Sunday we would be having a test. So in that week prior to the test, we will have day wise targets to finish, topics to finish. So I would just follow that and I ensure that I am finishing all these topics, finishing the basic content before I go for the exam. So in mains preparation also same thing. After prelims we immediately started mains test series. They provided us with the daily planner. I was strictly following the daily planner. I was not making any particular schedule of mine. And again, revision also, in the prelims time we had revision test. I dedicated week to finish the revision. I was focusing on that. So I think at the end of the preparation, I think I have finished at least 5 rounds of revision for prelim specific stuff. Now let me start with my revision strategy. So I didn't say this before, but I didn't make my schedule, my own schedule to finish my studies. I was basically following the daily planner Fortune has provided. So starting with prelims test series back in October 2024, we were provided a daily planner. So in that the topics that we have to finish each day would be properly listed. So my goal was to finish these targets day by day and go for the exams in Sunday. That helped out. And also in mains we were provided a daily planner, and I was following the same strategy that I was doing in prelims. So when it comes to revision, during prelims test series we had dedicated weeks for revision test, and in that time I was cramming my revision. So altogether, I think I must have finished at least 4 to 5 rounds of revision, not in a very structured way per se, but in the way that worked for me. So you must hear things like you have to focus only on PYQs in the last phase of preparation for prelims. In my case, that was the same. I finished all my tests, everything by mid of April, and after that I was focusing only on prelims, only on PYQs. So what I did was every single day I'll wake up and I will think what I can do today, and depending upon my mood I would choose a subject and I would take 2 days or 3 days to completely finish the basic content, and more focus was given to attempting PYQs and revising what I had already studied. No new stuff to be studied after mid of April was my goal, and that was how I did. But most people have a very structured schedule for finishing revisions, and if you are a person who prefers having a timetable or a structured revision, always go for that. In my case, that didn't quite work out for me, so I just focused on what I can do, and depending upon my mood I used to study. But at the end of the day, I ensured that I was covering everything within the stipulated time. Also, active recalling is a very good method. I was constantly using that. So every day before going to sleep, I would just recall whatever I had studied, whatever I had written, and if I am having any doubts, I would just stop or active recalling. I would go back, revise, and then continue with the active recalling. You can either write it down or you can just remember. So whatever works for you. And for mains specifically, I think I have completed 3 to 4 rounds of revision again. So I think we had 10 tests for all the subjects, and then comprehensives also. While comprehensives I was going for I think second or third time of revision, and couple of days before mains I was again at the final round of revision. I think 4 to 5 rounds of revision must have been done. So here also I didn't have any proper structure. The larger goal was finishing each and every subject and finishing the basic content. I had consolidated my sources and my answers, everything else. So I was just focusing on the larger goals, and that worked out for me. But again, I'm saying, if you are a person who prefers having a timetable and structure, definitely follow that. Now some people must have this confusion whether to go for self-study or coaching. In my personal experience, coaching has helped me out to clear this in my first attempt. Not necessarily that everybody has to go for coaching. There are many people who have done who have cleared this exam in their very first attempt without any coaching, relying on the internet and the free sources available. So at the end of the day, it's your choice whether to go for it or not. I was so sure that I needed some help, some direction to crack this exam in the very first attempt, and then I went for coaching. But not necessarily you have to follow that. So if you are choosing coaching, always do your basic research, finding out the test series, everything about an academy, and then choose the academy. Don't blindly follow any topper or any person. Always use your discretion, do your basic research, and then go for it. If you are a person who feels like you need extra help, definitely coaching can help you. Again, the issue is financial constraints. I also face this. My father is a daily wage laborer and my mother is a homemaker. So obviously finances were a little trouble, but I had a very good ecosystem who helped me out. My parents just told me one thing: we will help you out financially. We know you will study, and at the end of the day, they helped me out financially, and I did my part, which is studying and cracking this exam. If you are a person who is facing financial constraints, plan it out accordingly. If you want to go for a job, go for a job and then prepare. There are many people who prepare for this exam along with the job and clear this exam. So at the end of the day, everything boils down to you. It's your choice, and if you think you want a particular kind of way to crack this exam, go for it. It's okay. And then the psychological side is also very important. For instance, this exam is a very grueling one, 3 stages, and each stage demands specific things from you, and it's not necessary that you are cool throughout your preparation. Sometimes you have to go multiple attempts to crack this exam. So tension and stress are part of this exam and are part of our life also. Failures will happen every now and then, but always remember the why you want to crack this exam, why you want to become a civil servant. This will anchor you. In my case also, that anchored me well. And there will be moments where you will feel like you are losing it, so you will get distracted and you will not feel like studying, you will get very stressed. It's all part of this exam, but have your ways of dealing with it. In my case, I was a very talkative person, I'm still one. So I would just go to my trusted people, my parents, my mentors, my brother, my friends. I would just talk to them. They will help me get okay, and then I'll come back to studying. And I had my hobbies very alive. I am a person who read, who watch series and movies. I was doing all this stuff, and the point is, UPSC is just an exam at the end of the day. There is a life beyond UPSC. You shouldn't lose that life because you are preparing for this exam. Always keep your hobbies alive, have your own fun while preparing for this exam. But remember one thing, that you are writing this exam and you have to crack it. Keep that anger down. At the same time, have your own life. It's okay. Even if you're getting distracted, it's okay. You can do what you like, and then you can come back. So my point is, there is a life beyond UPSC and you should not lose it. And for people studying in college, my philosophy was always that I have got just 5 years in college. I'm just going to enjoy my life there, and after that I'll start my preparation, and within 1 year I'll be able to study well, and I'll be able to crack it in my first attempt. During college, this is one reason why I haven't prepared anything. I was studying political science. That definitely helped me out. But at the end of the day, the serious preparation started after my college, and that served me well, because that was my choice and I was okay with it. But if you are a person who wants to prepare along with this college studies, not to waste any time, you can do that, absolutely do that, but give equal priority to both. You should not lose one for the other. Keep a balance, and not necessary that everybody has to start prepare while in college. Many people have done after college, after 10 years of working and then clearing this exam. There are different kinds of people, different kinds of toppers. So there is not a set framework that you have to follow. At the end of the day, it's your choice what to do with your preparation and studies. I think with that, I'm going to conclude. I think before that I can talk a bit about interview. In my case, I was not bothered about interview until mains. Immediately after mains, I got this thought, like I should start preparing for interview. What if I clear mains? That was September 2025. I think after second week of September, I started reading newspaper, the Indian Express, and reading through transcripts and doing a bit of speaking practice. In my personal opinion and experience, interview was the most fun part and the most relaxing part. In prelims, you have to sit and do MCQs for 4 hours to pass the exam. In mains, you have to write 9 papers and 7 papers would get evaluated for final ranking. And in interview, it's just a matter of 30 minutes. And for a person like me coming from Thiruvananthapuram, going in flight for the first time and going to Delhi for the first time, it was very exciting. I think perhaps going to Delhi and going by flight for the first time was the most exciting part in a way, rather than giving the interview. Definitely personality test has the importance and it is very exciting. Let me tell you, the boards are very cordial, very conversational, and you just have to be very confident and coherent in your thoughts and perspectives. There are no right or wrong answers if you are asking opinion based questions. You have to give your own opinion and a justification, and couple of things matter more. One, confidence, not overconfidence or underconfidence, just the right amount of confidence that show your boldness and show your caliber as a future officer. This comes without any particular practice, but UPSC preparation can make you that kind of person. It will happen because it happened for me and many other people, so don't worry about that part. And second, always being very open to suggestions during mock interviews and things like that. Sometimes you would get contradictory opinions from panel mocks. Take the right opinions and work on it. If they are not continuous opinions from different mocks, or if just random opinion, I'm not sure, I don't think you have to accept it. Always work on what you can actually work on and then go about it. And another most important thing is you have to take a stand when you are asked to take a stand. Do not balance, it will look artificial. If you have a stand by it. Have your own reasons and justification for it. Don't follow any other opinions from outside. Take your stand, it's okay. You must have your own justification. And also you need to have good listening skills. When the board is asking you questions, listen to it completely and think for it for a moment. Take a pause for 5 to 6 seconds and then answer it. It shows that you have the intellectual maturity which a civil servant requires. And thirdly, do a lot of speaking practice, and you might get tangled with what to write in hobbies, what to write in achievements. I do not have any hobbies, I do not have any achievements. Don't worry about anything like that. After means you have lot of time to work on all these aspects. So that's about interview. And now I would like to conclude by saying that I wish you guys all the very best. UPSC civil services examination gives you tremendous opportunity to learn, to grow and become a better person. Actually, it really happens for most of the people. And if it's your dream to pursue this path in life, go for it. Many people would come and might discourage you. Don't give into those negative thoughts and negativity around you. If it's your dream, you have to go for it and always aim high. I was aiming for All India Rank 15, not All India Rank 1, because I thought it was very arrogant of me. I was just focusing on All India Rank 15. I landed in All India Rank 57. I was very surprised by that too. At the end of the day, you dream a lot, but the rank you get will definitely surprise you. So always dream high. It not just dreaming high, always work for it. Keep smart work priority. You don't have to do hard work, read every book back to back. No, nothing like that. Focus on what is essential and do that. And at the end of the day, be confident that you will crack this exam. Failures are part of this exam. It will happen, but just don't give into it. Always get up and work hard, work smartly. You will get there. And one important lesson my mentors always used to tell me was that detach from the results. Do your part and results will follow. And that happened in my case too. So at the end of the day, it will work out if you put in the right amount of work. So I wish you guys all the very best, and thank you so much.